Hello everyone and welcome back to the Forge Within podcast, where we have real people telling real stories about how mental health has shaped their lives, and hopefully together we can start changing the stigma around mental health. So today's guest is Chloe Lewis. She was diagnosed with ME and fibromyalgia at 12 years of age, and what followed after the diagnosis was a battle not just with her body but with shame, comparison, normality and survival. We'll be talking about illness, identity, pressure, and what happens when your body forces you to slow down, whether you're actually ready or not. So, without further ado, I'd like to introduce Chloe to the show. Chloe, thank you for being here, and how are you today?
I'm doing good, thank you. And I'm a bit nervous but excited to share my story, so thank you for having me on.
That's not a problem at all. So before we come on, we were just talking about how does Chloe feel? She's like, I'm nervous. I was like, no, we'll be fine. We'll guide it through. And your story's a remarkable one, and I think it
thank you.
No, that's fine, and it deserves justice to be told, and hopefully people who will listen to this will gain strength in your story and will reach out if they need anything as well. So before we start, do you want to introduce yourself, a bit about who you are and a bit about your younger years?
Right, well, I gotta say that art was probably one of my main focuses for most of my life. I grew up around art and painting and crafting, so art have always been a big part of my life. And then when I got diagnosed, I suppose that's the only thing that stuck with me, really. So if you know me, you know I love art, and painting is my biggest goal in life, and anything where I'm crafting with a glue stick or PVA glue. I think I miss my calling in life being a preschool teacher.
Love that.
So,
love that.
yeah. Apart from that, I don't really know. I got into tattooing. I love tattooing. I still follow everything tattoo related on Instagram and all the new tools that are out. And family is probably the biggest part of my life. Like, without family, the world don't mean much to me. So I've always been brought up with a brilliant family, and that's gone on through my life, even through my early years. So family is the most important thing to me in my life.
No,
I
I
hope
love
that's
that.
not
I
too
think
boring or
for me,
cliche.
no. For me, family is pivotal for me as well. I
Mhm.
was lucky enough to have an amazing mother, my grandparents, my father as well. Even though my father and my mother separate when we were younger, we still got a strong relationship now. And then obviously my family now, I don't live now in Tredegar, because just to let everyone know, Chloe, you live in the valleys, yeah? Live in Tredegar?
Yeah, in the
Yeah.
valleys, yeah.
We are valley folk, so you could tell the accent probably gives it away as
If
well,
you
doesn't it?
couldn't, yeah, if the accent wasn't a big giveaway, yeah, valleys through and through.
Yeah. So yeah, family is pivotal, and yeah, I can really resonate with that. What was your when you were younger? What was your family dynamics like when you were younger in the house and stuff?
Very close. So I grew up, I'm one of 4 siblings. So we don't know the meaning of the word quiet. We all talk over each other, but that's not in any malice. It's just how we speak is probably quite daunting to other people. Like when my partner came in the house, he was like, I don't know how you get a word in edgeways, but we know exactly what everyone's thinking or talking about. So we're having like 6 conversations at once, and he's like, oh my God, I got to take myself upstairs and just digest what I've just heard. But it's normal to us. But yeah, very close as a family, do anything for each other, and God help anybody that said the wrong word to my siblings. They were having it, even though I was 5'1".
I'm not saying anything. I'm small, but you are small. 5'1" is small. Definitely.
Gimli is my nickname from my siblings out of Lord of the Rings, the angry little dwarf. So
I love that. Oh, I love that. That's brilliant. So what was I know that that's good because it paints a nice picture in regards of what your family environment was like, and having that close knit environment would obviously benefit you long term with the things that you've had, because having that network is so important to a lot of people. So I just want to go, what do you remember about being diagnosed at 12, and what are you actually diagnosed with, to let the people know?
So my main illness is ME, also known as chronic fatigue syndrome. It's called myalgic encephalomyelitis, which is a massive mouthful. And it basically means swelling of the brain and spinal cord, which is where CFS, the other name for it, comes into, because they're not quite sure that's what causes it. But there's we prefer, those in our community with ME prefer the name ME because chronic fatigue syndrome just sounds like we get tired of it. So we're not a fan of that name when it got renamed. But yeah, I was just, I was coming home for school dinners, and before I could even go back to school, I was falling asleep in the chair, and my mum didn't really know what was going on. She thought maybe there was some kind of narcolepsy involved. I remember being in a lot of pain after simple things like showers and washing my face and going out with my friends. I'd be more lethargic to the point where I couldn't make going out with them the next day. And yeah, it just became very painful and very scary all of a sudden at like 11 or 12. I didn't really know what was going on. But the diagnosis obviously helped when I listed all my symptoms with my mother, and they was like, oh, you're a classic case of ME and fibromyalgia, and this is what you have. So yeah, and I was there at 12 years old. I felt like I was thrown to the wolves a bit, but it was an opportunity to learn what I had, and at least we had a diagnosis anyway, so that was the main.
No, that's really, really good. And what about your? Because that must be really difficult to try and gauge that understanding of not knowing what was going on and how that was impacting you. But being that young as well, did you fully understand what was happening to you at that age?
I think my mum did a very good job, and I had my pediatrician. She was amazing, but there was this feeling of, oh, I don't know what's running through my blood, and it made me feel a bit icky all the time because there was no known cause or no known cure. I sort of felt, I don't want to say dirty, but I just felt, I don't know, it's this weird feeling of what's going through my blood. I wanted to know what's going on, and is it a certain cell or is there a certain vitamin that I'm lacking? But it wasn't that. It's to do with genetics. But I used to test false positive for like Lyme's disease, and glandular fever is a big one that most of us have if we've had ME, and it sort of never really goes. And I just felt this overwhelming sense of what's wrong with me. Like if I could open my blood and examine it myself, is there a different colour compared to other people, or just those like irrational thoughts, really. That was I remember being 13 and saying to my psychologist, I don't know what's running through my veins. And that was a really odd thought for me. But it was a very big one, that one.
That must have been incredibly difficult because it kind of shows the understanding of what we do how we feel when we're younger, and how we can try to incorporate to understand certain emotions and feelings. So you visually thinking, well, if I cut myself open, what's actually inside? That's a really deep understanding that as an adult we obviously know, but because we don't have that knowledge or communication or words, that's how we understand it as a child.
Yeah, you've worded that perfect, really, and I hadn't really thought about it before, but being so young, I think that was the only way I could comprehend, like, something feels really wrong, so something must look really wrong on the inside. And I remember talking to my psychologist about that a lot, and she said it was a interesting concept, that this feeling of, oh, what's running through me, and let's just try and cut it out, so to speak. But yeah, it was to do, now you've said that out loud, with being really young. Because if I was an adult being diagnosed, I would just take the diagnosis and, oh, it's part of my genetics, and it's this and it's that. And yeah, but that was sort of a rational thought for a 12-year-old, but irrational for an adult then. So yeah, it makes sense. Makes perfect sense.
But I think it's the understanding as well of being a child. Like my boy, year one now, I say it every week, we're in the process of him being diagnosed with Tourette's syndrome. So
Yeah.
he'll sit there and he actually can feel the tics coming on. He says he feels if something is trying to like
Wow.
break out.
Oh, yeah.
So sometimes a child's idea of what is happening gives more clarity than what an adult will
Yeah.
say, because we kind of keep it very specific. This is what it is. This is genetics, like you just said. Whereas a child actually looks deeper, so it gives it more meaning. So
Yeah.
I think that's an incredible insight. That
Hmm.
if parents who are listening to this, they have these conversations with their children, they're able to
Hmm.
look at how your children are communicating, and try and work out their understanding of what's going on as well. Because I think that's
Yeah.
I think that's pivotal.
Yeah, that's spot on. As kids, we probably are more in tune with our bodies because it's happening for the first time. So you haven't got all these other massive feelings sort of clouding your brain. So any like impulse, like Johan feels, probably feels like what, like the impulse of sneezing, so to speak. I'm not sure how Tourette's works, but I can imagine from what I've read up on, that's what it has to come out. So yeah, yeah, children are very good at explaining their feelings, and yeah, I wish it could stay like that through adulthood, really. We make things very complicated.
We do, we overcomplicate things 100%. But
Hmm.
you've mentioned briefly, because that gives a good understanding of like what it was like mentally. But were there any other aspects mentally how that made you feel during that time?
Yeah. So I was very aware that I wasn't like my peers or my friends, and I was starting to lose my relationships with my best friends because I was just too tired to do anything. So I'd spend a lot of my time in bed, and the pain would be horrendous. And then I think that snowballed very quickly to dark thoughts, to complete irrational thoughts. And yeah, I did start self-harming, and I had no idea why I was doing it. So I was about 13, right up till 16, self-harming. And that was like an impulse, really, Sam. Like, I was doing it, and after I did it, I didn't really know why I'd done it. And it was explained to me by a psychologist. It was the need for control, or a different kind of pain, and I could control that pain. So once I like talked about my feelings, the psychologist was like, it makes perfect sense why you're doing it, is to gain some control back of your life. So you can focus on this pain and focus on, oh, now I got to hide this from my parents, and I got to make sure that this is my little secret that nobody knows. So yeah, it was very weird. And I think most people who self-harm sort of don't know why they do it. It's an impulse, but there's always an exact science behind why you sort of feel a need to hurt yourself that way. So that was interesting as well. I was glad I knew why I was doing it rather than, oh my God, I'm just weird.
So for me, I never really used to self-harm. There was two, if I went back to when I was younger, when I played badminton and stuff,
Yeah.
I was very, very emotional. So a lot of my emotions would come out because I was always trying to prove to others that I was better than
Yeah.
what others perceived me. I would, on my calves, if I was really frustrated, I would hit the badminton racket and bat my calves. But when I come back from Thailand, and I
Mm.
had all them feelings, one of the things, my knuckles are covered in scars. So one of the things I used to do, for no apparent reason whatsoever, I'd have a drink and go out, and then I would start rubbing my knuckles up and down the walls. Now,
Wow.
I would class that as obviously a self-harm,
Yeah, definitely.
and that would be
Definitely.
me punishing myself because I didn't
Hmm.
feel like, from a justification point of view, the feelings that I was feeling, I didn't have no right to do it because what I'd seen in Thailand was a lot worse than what I was going through. So why am I feeling like this? So I think that's the only
Yeah.
bit of in regards of self-harming I experienced. But how did you find then with the self-harming? Because this is a really important topic, because a lot of people go through this, not just through
Yeah.
children, but
Yeah.
adults go through it as well. How did you find being in control of that and trying to hide it from people? Did it make you feel,
Yeah.
what were the feelings?
So I used to use, as icky as it sounds, just like the end of a tweezer blade or a razor blade out of a razor and just nick, and then, or if it was the tweezer where I couldn't sneak a razor past anybody, I'd just start rubbing back and forth until I seen enough blood that it give me a sense of release. I can't, it was sort of that stinging pain was different to all my aching pain. So I preferred that because it took the focus off all my toothache kind of pain in my legs and my arms, and I'd have this stinging pain. So instantly I'd be like, oh, this is a relief. And then you sort of, oh no, what's my mum going to think if she sees this? And oh my God, this is going to put my family through hell because they're going to think, I'm not handling it, I'm not coping very well. But the way I seen it was a coping mechanism. But obviously, like as an adult looking back, it wasn't very a good one at all, because I was just, hurting yourself isn't the way to go about it. You're gonna, like, infection, the risk of infection, the plasters, and it just altogether looks a bit, cry for help really. And I suppose it was a cry for help when I look back, thinking, oh, if they did see it, at least we'd have to talk about it a bit more in depth. So yeah, self-harm's quite powerful that way, and it's mocked a lot as oh, you're just a emo goth. But it's not the case. It's probably hiding a lot of serious trauma underneath, I'd say. But all in all, a release at first, and then massive guilt and massive worry of, oh my God, I gotta hide this, and what if they see a little bit of it, and where's it gonna go? Are they gonna put me in a psych ward? And all these thoughts. So making myself worse then, just for the momentarily relief, like.
Yeah, it's really.
Sorry, I'm not very good with words.
No. You do. I get no. It's fine. It's really interesting because when I speak to people about self-harm, it is normally coming from a direction of they don't have the network around them to communicate, and they don't have with the trauma they've been through as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting in your case because you had that, and I think this is really relevant at this point, because there'll be people out there who do self-harm and they've got an amazing network around them.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't communicate.
That's so true, yeah. It was, my parents were very open about mental health, and were constantly, like, it reminded me of yours and Lloyd's story where I'll see you in an hour if you don't want to talk to me now. And you'd be thinking, oh my God, just fucking leave me alone. Like, but they were there, and I had every opportunity to say, I'm not doing very well. But it was sort of thinking, oh God, this could hurt them so much, saying those words, where looking back, I was hurting them more because they didn't really know what was wrong. I wasn't verbalizing what I was feeling until I had the psychologist, and that really helped me. An outsider helped me, because I couldn't deal with the thought of, I'm going to hurt my family. I couldn't deal with that. It was hard. Mm.
Yeah, it's that inner guilt, really. Once we do something, you don't want to hurt the feelings of the ones you love, so you hide it from them. But ultimately, I've been in that scenario when I was bullied when I was younger, and then to the point that when I was struggling with mental health after my mother knew, but it was easier putting a cover-up or a plaster or a Band-Aid on it than it was being actually honest. But probably the best thing that's happened to me, especially the last year, not because of what's going on with the podcast and everything and the other things, but being honest about my mental health has been the greatest thing that I've ever done. Ever done. Because the people who will say, oh, you're leaving all your stories out there, what happens behind closed doors should never be closed.
No, yeah. And I agree with that. And I think it would have helped my parents tremendously if I had just said, look, I am really, really struggling mentally. I don't know why I'm self-harming. I don't know why I'm doing this. And they could have sort of not gone to bed every night then worrying of, what was she thinking? And a problem shared is a problem halved. And I do still believe that to this day. It really is, because once it's out there, you're able to deal with it. The constant stress my parents went through of not knowing where to tackle a feeling because I wasn't open and honest at first. Yeah, I can't imagine what that did to them. Being a parent now, myself, the worry must have been immense beyond belief. So yeah, that's all I can say is if there are teenagers listening, it's not going to be as bad as you think if you say to your parents, look, I'm really struggling here. I really am, because they'll be able to deal with it a lot better than going to bed wondering what's wrong. I cannot hand on my heart say that.
I think that's one of the things I'm very open with my children about mental health and about how we need to be open about it. But I think that's the one thing that worries parents sometimes, is that if I am open with my children, am I going to put my stresses on to them? But it's the only way we're going to break generational trauma.
Amen. Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's quite nice to have that sort of openness about it, because then you take that fear away. And even though my parents were open about mental health, I suppose sometimes as well you can have that relationship where it feels too close. So an outsider sort of helps then would sort of say to your parents, this is how she feels. I was happy that she told my parents how I felt, but I didn't want it to come from me. So
that's you know, and that's probably, this is why I love doing these podcasts, because this, as you're speaking, it's allowing me to process as well, because I never really thought of that. The
yeah,
biggest relationship I had ever was me and my mother. Inseparable, perfect relationship, like my best friend.
what a woman. Yeah, I love that episode.
Yeah, she is incredible. But I felt as if I couldn't tell her.
Yeah.
When really now my mother knows everything, and she's like, if I struggle now, I ring it up and she's bumping. We sit down and have a conversation within 5 minutes, bang,
Yeah.
done. But I think that shows that sometimes we can be a bit too close to our parents and them loved ones. So looking at other people, and I think when we look at what's out there now, when we go to the next part before we talk about like forums and everything, there's places out there that people can come and communicate and talk now and have that third party perspective, instead of just, I don't know, putting yourself out there to your parents and then worrying what they're going to think. Whereas a third person's opinion isn't going to be as much of an impact on you than what your parents are going to be. So
true. And I think they'd make it, like the psychologist made it simple that, look, if you say this to them, nothing bad's going to happen. And I just needed that bit of encouragement of, oh yeah, actually it's not like they're my parents. I know they're going to love me, but can you tell them for me? And then she was, no problem. And that was that. And like you said, like your mum just been completely open ever since. Nothing is held back. Too much shade sometimes.
I'm in the same boat as that, 100%. You mentioned about, before we move into the forums and everything, the help that you had or didn't have with the self-harm, because I think, again, a nice way to finish it really, with the self-harm and the dark thoughts. As you look back on it now, I think you were a child at the time, and it's really important that at that period of time you was a child, but your mind was already in survival mode. So
100%, yeah.
in order to process that might have been difficult, but looking back on it now, what do you think the driving force behind you doing that? So what was the driving force behind them dark thoughts when you were younger and behind the self-harm?
I think feeling completely abnormal to everybody else. That was the biggest drive. And just thinking that, well, I'm worthless if I can't do what my peers are doing, who are getting like little jobs and going out to, like, I couldn't make my prom. And the night prom happened, I remember, this is how paranoid I was and how dangerous mental health can be. I thought the sun wasn't going to come up the day after. So I thought that was the end of my world. And to my like younger self, nothing anybody could have told me would have changed my view that sun wasn't coming up. So I remember that night I had like loads of stuff around me, like the Bible and everything. And I was clutching on because I just thought it was the end of the world as I know it. And looking back, it's crazy to think that was so irrational, Chloe. But at the time, it made perfect sense. So I think the complete fear of this is just over prom, like a prom. But because I wasn't making it to prom and I was so abnormal, well, what's the point in me being here? Well, yeah, that was those dark thoughts all the time of, oh, if you can't have a little job, if you can't go out with your mates, then what's the point? But yeah, it was completely irrational, but very dangerous because there was no way to rationalize it in my teenage head that this wasn't my entire world falling apart. Yeah, and I felt like I didn't have nothing to offer the world really. That was the main thing of it. What's the point? And
Yeah.
that was the driving force.
No, that's I think that just shows that when we're young, our minds are undeveloped. We're surrounded by social media. We're surrounded by, and again, when we go into forums now, we talk about comparisons and everything. Social
Mhm,
media is a tool that we use to consistently compare ourselves to other people. And this word that I work in a SEN school, an ALN school, and I've done a lot of my
it's
life, and
amazing.
with
Mhm.
with Johan as well. The word normal doesn't exist.
No.
But the problem is that the pressures of around us of peer support or everything, we want to try and fit in. We want to try and be that next person. So again, what you
Mhm.
were feeling was a normal reaction to how you were dealing with stress, be it negative at the time, but with support you could have got there. But because you were comparing yourself,
Yeah. Thank you,
that's
Sam, for saying it was normal for what I was going through because I'd never really sort of said those words out loud either. I'm always like, oh my God, that was so irrational. Like, why was you thinking that way? But yeah, it was just how I knew to cop to yeah, deal with it at the time.
I think it's being when you look back on yourself, I think it's just that to go in, look, I understand what I was going through. Those feelings, as much as they were irrational, I was dealt
Mm.
some really tough cards, and
Yeah.
I didn't have the mental stability or maturity to understand what was going on. So I just done a negative coping strategy. However,
Mm.
when I found out what to do, I was able to change it
Yeah.
and implement it. So
Yeah.
it's all part of that learning process of understanding yourself. But
Yeah.
when negative coping strategies take hold and there is a driving force behind it, it's very, very, very difficult
Yeah.
to break.
Thank you, Sam. That was a nice way of putting it. Thank you.
That's okay. That's okay. No problem. So I know that you when you were you were going through this period when you were having suicidal thoughts and dark thoughts and the self-harm and everything. When we spoke previously, before we come on the podcast, you talked about the safe spaces. And again,
Yeah.
we just talked about comparison as well. So, and we also mentioned about forums, but you did mention that someone was
Mhm.
tearing you apart by comparing your symptoms. So I just want to talk a bit more about what that was and what did it do
Mhm.
to you mentally, and as a result, I
Mhm.
would imagine physically as well as emotionally.
Yeah. Um, so as I was going through all these therapies, like pediatrician, my psychologist, physiotherapy, hydrotherapy, I was very lucky. My physiotherapist was diagnosed with ME as well. So we got on like a house on fire and she was like, there's so many great programs for you youths now that you can like talk to people your age about what you're going through. And I was like so excited because for once, oh my goodness, I was going to be a teenager again, but with people who understood or would just get really like it's too much sometimes. So once I started this forum, there was a girl on there who was quite local. I wouldn't dare name her because I hope she's doing better now. But where I thought we would get on, it was instantly, where are you on this pain scale? Or I was talking about Download Festival because that was one of my, like, that's all my kind of music. I was like, I can't wait for the day I can go in a tent. And she was like, I can't believe you can think about that like how ill we are. And I thought, oh, I can't stick this negativity. Like, I just want to be normal. And if this is what a teenager with ME is supposed to look like, I don't want to be a teenager with ME. So I think I was feeling this way of abnormal to this, just completely not with the world anyway. And as soon as she had the same illness as me and was so negative, I thought I cannot be in this world at all now. I can't have ME. I gotta get out, because if this is what people are like with ME, I don't want it. Whereas it was this one girl, and there was other people that were on there who were lovely, but were obviously too tired or in too much pain to talk. But I just focused on this one girl, and that completely, it wiped me out in terms of thinking, I'm ever going to find a friend in this space. I just got to get out. I got to get healthy again. And that was part of, the comparison thing. I can't compare myself. I've just got to be normal. And that drove it home for me. So something as simple as that, when they say be kind, I think it's not cliche at all, because she destroyed my sense of positivity in those few conversations, trying to be friends with someone who had the same thing, but didn't work out that way.
I think it's the weight in which we carry our words as well. I know that when we're upset, or if we're dealing with trauma ourselves, we will tend to feed off the energy of someone else and then grow a natural resentment. There's been a lot of people who say to me, and they're having a really tough day, and they go, "Why are you always smiling?"
Yeah.
And they will naturally then try to put their negative stress on things, and then they try to suck out that energy. And if you are young and you are vulnerable and you're not really comfortable in your own self, like I'm very comfortable in my own self, and I'm 36 years of age and a family, so I don't really give two shits what people think about me now. I really don't. But back then, I genuinely did. It was one of the biggest things that impacted us. If I was in a room full of 100 people, 99 people said that I was amazing, and one person said I wasn't. It would only be the one person.
Yeah, completely.
So I can understand that. So it's quite the correlation between both of our mental understanding of that is very, very aligned, because I get it when you have one person and you're already low anyway, you're struggling, and you have one person saying, well, you shouldn't feel this way, you shouldn't do that, then it's going to take it out of you. And this is something that isn't just set out to like mental health. This goes out to people like in domestic abuse. It's another word of, it's an abusive comment that maybe that person might not think it is, but it's that the person receiving the comment might. So my grandfather said for years and years, you've got 2 ears, you've got 2 eyes, and you've got one mouth for a reason. You listen, you observe, and then you speak.
Yeah.
And it's very, very important that we do that. That's why, again, we look at, I go off on one social media again. I've had people say to me that I'm with a podcast and everything, you're only doing this for the money. There is no fucking money. I'm
There's no pay
no,
enough for mental health. Like, no.
No, I do it because I want to raise awareness, but there'll always be people out there that will want to discredit or bring you down. And I think that's why as we get older, we kind of feel more comfortable. But when we're younger, like the situation you were in, even though you thought, oh, great, now I'm going into a group, I'm going into a forum, and I'm going to have all the support. And even if you did, you still had people there who wanted to just drain the living shit out of you.
Yeah, 100%. That expectation of we're all going through the same thing, so we're all going to feel the same way. And even with mental health, it doesn't work like that. So it was learning that. And I didn't learn that till I was much, much older, that we can be in the exact same situation but handle it differently. And yeah, because it's that nature nurture thing, isn't it? She went through something completely different to me, where she was so negative, and unless you was the illest on the forum, you didn't have a right to speak, because she was the worst one on there. And it should never be like that, because pain is pain, even if it's a paper cut. It's still hurting at that time. So yeah, that's why it is important that there's millions of forums out there, but they're not always the best for your personality. The way I see it, you got to find your one.
Well, looking back on it now, what would you, like, in comparison then, say for instance, why do you think now, looking back, that comparison in illness can be
Hmm.
so dangerous?
I think because, especially from when you're diagnosed with ME, there's no known cause or no known cure yet. We haven't got much funding. It's being spoken about in Parliament now, so I've been waiting like 22 years for this, so it's massive. But when you so unvalidated with an illness anyway, to have people with the same illness sort of compare, or you can't be like this, or you can't have that say, or you can't be negative about that because you're walking. It's very it's dehumanizing in a way, because when you have ME, we all go through like these severe bouts and these better bouts. And I hate that, like, there's people out there comparing if you're in a wheelchair or not. Well, that person might have pains more in their arms. And I think you get into this dangerous thing then of invalidating people's feelings even further, to the point of, like, you can be so low with this illness, you could, like, that irrational thought of thinking the world is going to end, you could end your world because, well, I'm mourning about this and I'm in less pain than that person, when we really don't know until we're stepped in that person's shoes. We have no idea. So yeah, it is very I'd love people in the ME world to be more kind to each other, really, because there's such this spectrum. And like, some people say, oh, I stopped eating bread, that cured me. And you think, oh, shut up. You're telling us, like, it's our fault again. Like, it's in our genes. Even if we stop eating tiger bread on a weekend, it's not going to help much. So it's just this, I don't know. I wish people were a lot nicer in general, but it's always the way of the world. But there's always someone out there doing good. Like, I try my best in these forums now to post pictures of, like, Daisy or my dog, or like something funny I've done that day, like try to put the sugar in the fridge because that's my brain fog. And just take a picture and go, what's your brain fog decided to do today? So it's making it humorful as well, because we're still human. We're chronically ill, but we can still have a laugh. And I think that's the main thing, is not feeling so downbeat all the time. Yeah, we can still find farts funny.
Well, no, exactly. And what's really nice to you is that you've kind of accepted the fact now that
Yeah.
this is what you've got, and you've just gotta learn to live with it.
Mhm.
I'll always have mental health. I'm never gonna get the point where I'm gonna be perfect. I'm on medication. I've been on medication for 17 years. The likability is I'll probably always be on the medication, but that's the cards I've dealt with. I can't drink anymore. I can't have caffeine. Going out, like, clubbing and doing all the things I used to and everything, I don't like doing anymore because it's set off. I can't even have Skittles. Do you know what I mean?
You can't
Because
taste the rainbow.
no, I can't taste the rainbow. People say that. I'm like, what does a rainbow taste like? I don't know. So I think I can sympathise, because from a mental health perspective, a lot of people look at me and they go, "There's nothing wrong with you." I
Yeah.
struggle every day. I suffer my anxiety every single day. I manage it well, but that's only
Mhm.
because of routine, medication, and just doing
Yeah.
things that don't contribute to my mental health. But I'm very, very I never say to people, you should do this. This is what worked for me, and
Yeah.
it works for me. It may work for you, but
Mhm.
I'm willing to listen to see if I can
Yeah.
try and advise you. I think that's the way to do it. But again, we look at social media and go, well, she's struggling and she looks way worse than what you are. But
Mhm.
again, you don't know what that person is feeling.
No, because some people are very good at masking compared to others, and that's what my main worry with you before we came on you was, how do you block out these interviews? Because it's a lot to take home, because although you are strong enough mentally now to do these podcasts, like to switch off is another thing. So I think you can't always underestimate people's ability to fall straight back into a severe bout of depression. Or like one word can trigger someone, I don't know, 4 steps back. So when it says be kind or like be understanding, like the way you said to word it, it always comes with a caution of, I can advise you, but this might not necessarily work for you. So I think if people spoke with those phrases a lot more, it'd help that people with ME would think, oh, yeah, if I cut out bread, that's the answer. It's not. Stop giving people false hope. It might have worked for you, and you also might have had different diagnoses that they've not picked up on yet. Always word it with, well, yeah, like exactly as you said, Sam, it might work for you, it might not. And I think that's the only way you can be, really.
Yeah,
Um,
I've said to people that we spoke if you come on here because you said to me, how do I manage with doing these podcasts and not taking on everyone's load? And for me, living
mm,
in the present moment is
yeah,
everything. But then if I say that to someone, they're gonna look at me and think, oh, he's a hippie, and why does he always think about that? And he's a Buddhist monk. And I'm like, okay, I can understand that. But again, it all comes down to what your perception is. If it works for you, fab. If it's a negative coping strategy and you were going out
mhm,
every Friday, Saturday, Sunday drinking and then you're horrific on a Monday, then maybe you should have a look at how that's affecting you. It
yeah,
works for me in a positive way that I'm doing all the things I want to. I'm a better dad. I'm a better individual overall. But that's because I class them as positive coping strategies. Sitting
yeah,
down for an hour a night playing on my PlayStation, it allows me escapism. Whereas other people
yeah,
are like, "Oh, you're a child for that." Yeah,
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 hmm,
but but you might sit there and read a book, or you might watch Coronation Street. So
hmm,
there is no difference because that works for me, and it's not doing anyone
exactly.
damage.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And like this whole stigma of, if you don't go out and have a pint, you're boring. Or I'd rather be boring and be okay the next day, because is that pint then worth all the steps back I'm going to take mentally? Like, so yeah, whatever works for you, do it. And that's I'm a big preacher in that as well. Like, especially with comparison now, I'm like, a flower can still bloom even though it's a daisy and one's a rose. They still bloom. You don't think a daisy's prettier than a rose, or a rose is prettier than a daisy. They bloom. They don't give a shit. They look to the sun, get what water they need, and they're not fighting each other.
I
They
love
just
that.
do their thing.
That's going to be the new quotation. If you're a daisy and a rose, you look the same. They don't give a shit. That's it. That's going on. That's going to be the next quote. I love that. As we kind of like just to wrap up that kind of section, then
Hmm.
looking back again, we kind of reflecting on it where we are back then. What would you say makes a safe space then for people?
The forum I'm part of now, there's like moderators on there, and they do not allow anybody pushing any sort of, no, like these drinks where they profess to be 300 vitamins in a bottle. Yeah. So that none of that's allowed, because like the guilt we felt of not trying hard enough to get over this illness, that's not allowed. No, it's in your genes. They found 8 genetic markers. No amount of vitamins going to help it, so it's not allowed. Um, and then if there's anyone sort of saying anything like, oh, I don't know, how would I describe it? Of with the diet thing then. So, oh, how are you like this when you don't eat bread? Or why are you like this if you eat a tomato? You're not allowed any dietitian recommendations on there. And also, if there's any nasty words like I'm worse off than you, they're banned. They're banned straight away, and that's the place for me. So we just share each other's photos of pets and what we've done for the day, and if we've made 2,000 steps, we don't have a go at that person. We're like, oh, yay, well done for you. So yeah, so it's all about encouragement, and I would like to say there's no negativity, but that's never going to be possible in this illness. If you're having a bad day, you're allowed to have a rant on there, and we'll support you and say, yeah, do you know what, the sun is going to come up tomorrow, so don't worry, we got you. And that's a lot of things we all say is me too in there, me too, don't worry about it, and better days are coming. So it's really, really supportive, not positive, supportive, because positive's hard to be, but supportive is definitely right. So
Yeah.
that's what makes a safe space to me now.
No,
I don't go in the other group.
That's really encouraging, because I think when we look at like mental health groups, from my perspective, there are groups out there that again is full of trash, but it's very, very hard though for people who don't have a network, they don't have friends,
Yeah.
and they want to feel valued. So sometimes they'll go into situations to communicate and talk, and they're not getting anything back, but because they're part of a community, then they feel they must stay. One of the things that I had a bit of a bug by really is when we look at things like within TikTok, you've got like these battles that they do, and what I found is that these agencies were being built up talking about. I'm not saying every agency is like this, because there's different, but within TikTok there were agencies where people would come in, they would support and talk, but then they would do these battles, and when they do these battles, they've got to send gifts and send money and everything. Now that's quite the difficult scenario to be in, because you were tapping into the heartstrings of people feeling the emotion of wanting to be part of a community, so they stay in a community that could be negative. So going off the back of what you've said, if you are in the community which isn't benefiting you mentally or emotionally or socially or physically, then there are other communities out there. Don't be afraid to go out there and seek it as well. I've learned massively. If I've got a friendship network, luckily I've got a good friendship network, but if I've had friends where they don't contribute to me mentally and they don't see the world as I see it, so why would I put myself in a situation where I would be with them? I've made more friends this last year by communicating and talking about my mental health, and then speaking to people with similar interests that people have experienced to me, than I ever have. So if you, I said it last week, if you are in a situation where you don't have a community around you, you don't have those people to talk, and you need advice, there are billions of people on this earth. There will be one person who will listen to you. So you just have to do a bit of homework and look.
Yeah, and I think the quicker you cut out all the garbage, the quicker you can go on to finding your next hopeful friends, or just get gone. That's what I say now. If there's one comment I don't like in a forum and they all rally behind you, I'm like, no, not for me. Next group, let's go. So quicker finding a new one and a better one. And once you find that one, stay in there and make the most of it. Be part of it.
Love that. One of the biggest things I've picked up in this conversation so far, I know that I want to just go into it a bit more depth, is the word normal. So I want to start by, what did normal mean to you individually?
So normal to me meant, I think, from a young age, everyone seemed to have a bit more confidence more than me. I was always very insecure about my looks and everything. So that was, I always wanted to be more confident. And I thought the way to do that was to be on the same level as my peers. So if they were going out drinking, I wanted to be going out drinking. If they were smoking, I want to be smoking. whatever conversations they were a part of, I wanted to be a part of. So to me, normal was being confident enough in yourself and sort of knowing who you was. And I never felt like that. I was always looking to other people to shape my personality. I think although I knew what I liked, I was never brave enough to sort of voice that on my own. So I'd always hold back a bit. So normal to me was having enough confidence and looking like you do in life, like where you should be. So at 13, 14, you're experimenting with drinks and stuff and going sitting on a curb outside your mate's house, and might be different at 13, 14 now, but when I was 13, 14, that was normal. Yeah, and I still struggle to this day with the word normal, because I think normal is everything other than what I was growing up or felt. So I never felt normal, but that was my constant drive was I need to be normal. This is why I'm so depressed, maybe, but knowing now, I don't think it's got anything to do with normal. Like you said, normal's completely false. What the hell is normal?
Well,
So
you mentioned about when you went back to school or when you were 16, but internally and mentally you felt 12. So was that a defining factor in when you said you don't feel normal, that you felt you
yeah,
missed things out?
yeah, I think all my peers were now talking in a much, I hope this is allowed, like sexually charged manner. They were having these conversations and I was like, oh my God, like I'm still into watching Pokemon and stuff at the minute. So that was a big shock to the system for me. And then I thought, I've got a lot of chasing up to do by you and I'm not really sure how I'm going to do it. So it was sort of trying to mask. And I dread to think what I used to say drunk to just feel part of the crowd. Because, like, me not sleeping with anybody and them sleeping with half the town. And I bet I was like, oh, yeah, I've been with him. And I dread to think if oh, God, I can't imagine what I said. Just all in the act of normal, which is bizarre. So I would have much rather look like a sleep around, which was totally not me, just to fit in that table, which is bizarre. Looking back, I'm like, oh God, that's so crazy, Chloe. But yeah, it's what I felt I needed to do to get on in life.
Is that
So
where the alcohol and partying started as well then, even though you were fighting in battles that you didn't want to do it? And I laugh now, right? Because like I'm 36 and I still watch anime with my son. And before
it's amazing in itself.
yeah, listen, right, to anyone listening, right, if you watch Coronation Street, EastEnders and all of that other garbage, right, anime is exactly the same thing, but with really good action scenes like Transformers. So watch it.
The music.
Oh, much better music. Vinland Saga music. Wow. Yeah, so, but I remember to fit in, I remember watching like Dragon Ball Z, which was one of my favorite ones, and the boys would knock the door and I would sprint to the curtains to turn the blinds the different way. They probably thought I
Oh my
was watching
God.
some kind of porno at the age of 13, 14. Um, and really I was watching Goku fighting Frieza on Planet Namek. Now, what is that about? But no, I can understand that. But obviously when you said that partying then with the partying and the drinking as well, that's where
Yeah.
all that started as well, yeah?
Yeah, and I think alcohol is the easiest way. Like, there was no way I was going to do hard drugs. No way, no chance in hell. But alcohol, yeah, I can do alcohol. And that's when it started, and it'd be every weekend. And I'd be the one sort of initiating these parties. So yeah, come to my house and we'll have a house party. And I got this group of friends, and in order to feel like to keep this group of friends, I had to keep up this mask then of, oh, Chloe does a good party and she's always the place to go. So yeah, it was drinking heavily every weekend. even when I was a bit younger through the week. So we were talking like a bottle of like Smirnoff vodka and the rest. So yeah, it was heavily. And I liked how it felt because I felt numb and normal and tipsy and drunk, and it was all in all a good feeling, but not the next day, not throughout the week.
Well, that's where I was just about to say then, that was it the fact of when you were doing the partying and the drinking and stuff, which again, a lot of youngsters do now. They do
Yeah.
it, and again, it's not understandable, but I've been there when I've done it, but it's when it has that deeper meaning. But was you doing it you wasn't doing it from a fun aspect, was you doing it to catch up mentally, or was you doing it for numbing? But you've already answered that.
Yeah, it was a bit of both, but yeah, I was never the type to want to keep doing that. I can't say I ever really enjoyed it until I got to that point of feeling blackout drunk, and then I liked it because yeah, you don't have to think. So yeah, but looking back, I'm like, ugh, I couldn't do that now.
But
Couldn't do it now.
But it's mad, right? And I think this is where, again, where we would rather like destroy ourselves completely than feel different.
Yeah, 100%. And nothing anybody could tell me, because at this point then I was very angry at the world. I didn't like most people. I was bothering with people younger than me because I felt like they understood me better because that was where my mind space was. I was pushing everybody away. I wasn't a very good partner. I wasn't a very good daughter. Yeah, I became very angry, and nobody can tell me any different because I'm the one who's gone through this, and I've got bills to pay, and I need to let my hair down. So if I want to get smashed, I'm going to get smashed. And yeah, I would wheel spin off in my car after my mum had a go at me, but she was saying, Chloe, I don't think this is good for your mental health. Like, I don't see where this is going, because then you've got to make it into work on Tuesday and be fresh as a daisy. And it wasn't happening. It wasn't happening because I was drinking so much and partying too hard, really hard. So yeah, I became this person that was awful at the hands of just being normal. So it didn't matter what my close ones thought of me, as long as those group of friends were around me. I didn't really give a shit, and that's the sad part of my life. But I think really
So
kept a lot of that.
did that transitioning period of suffering with that kind of side of mental health, did that change when, I know you said you had a real love of art, which you do, art, you really have got a love of art, but did that change then when you started becoming more involved within art and then you went into tattooing?
Yeah, like I lost my little cleaning job, and I was obviously still very ill, and the cleaning job worked for me because it was like 2 hours, 3 hours a day. And I thought I was struggling in that job, but I obviously, when you lose a job, you sort of got nothing to lose. And I was already tattooing my mates in houses and stuff. I think you even lent me some skin at one point.
I've got a dream catcher on my chest.
Oh
I
my
do.
God.
I remember the table you brought in, and like in my living room. I was saying to Carrie before I went, Chloe's the one who tattooed my chest. She went, no way. I said, yeah,
God.
yeah.
Oh God. Oh, it probably needs an update though.
It looks fab. It remains memories. It's fine.
Oh, bless you. Yeah, so I was doing that. Um, amongst like going to this cleaning job, always tattooing my friends, loved it. But then once I lost my job, I thought, oh, do you know what? I got nothing to lose. Let's try it. And all my friends were saying, oh, you should be a tattoo artist. And naively, fast forward a few years, I had a shop, and yeah, the public wasn't very nice. And I was struggling a lot then because I was like, oh, I'm going to work all my own hours. Didn't work like that. I had bills to pay. I was the yes girl who like give discounts, lifts home. I think I'm the only tattoo artist in the land that used to give you a lift home after your session. Like, Yeah, I just couldn't say no to people. And I thought everyone was my friend, and ultimately, not a lot of those people were my friends. I know who are, they know who they are. Like, I made quite a nice little group of friends through tattooing, but it was very few. Yeah. So, yeah, just genuine people who are what they say they are. But a lot of people in the shop, it opened my eyes completely. And then that's where the vendetta came in. I hated everyone. I just became this person who just didn't give two fucks, excuse my French, about anyone or anything. And that was the dangerous part of mental health for me because, like, say I took double my medication to get through that day, I didn't care what that did to my liver. I was on a one-track mission of not giving a shit. Just feel numb all the time. And it doesn't matter because, look, hey, I got these friends around me and they think I'm normal. So I'm winning. Everyone thinks I'm normal, so I've achieved this. But my body was screaming at me, and so was my parents. They were like, enough is enough. But tattooing became this, not my passion anymore. I was doing mediocre tattoos because I was in so much pain. And then I'd discount people because I'd feel like, oh, I could have done better than that, and that don't deserve what I'm charging. So I was putting myself out of business. And then I wasn't able to finish these tattoos because, yeah, my body just broke. And I still feel a lot of guilt to everybody I tattooed at that point because I should have stopped because there was no way I should have been near skin. No, I didn't belong there at that time. But I had to. That's the way I seen it. There was no other. I wasn't going back on benefits. I wasn't going back to being abnormal. No chance. And so,
Well, I think that's you going through. That was you in the survival mode at the end of the day. That's what, again, when we went back to when you were 13, 14, and you were in this mode of surviving. But now you're going through it now in your adulthood. Now you're surviving again, but it's then going into them negative coping strategies again that you started developing. Like, instead of looking to better the situation, you were trying to hurt yourself and punish yourself. And guilt can be horrific. Guilt can be a really tough one. Guilt can. It can
yeah,
be a really tough one to process, to understand, because that's you looking back on something. I feel guilty for going to Thailand, seeing the things that I did, and then the things that come after then of not being really a good friend, losing friends in the process, saying things to people that I really shouldn't have.
yeah,
Do you know what I mean? Having that a negative aspect on going with girls and stuff, and now I sit there and go, yeah, I did hurt a lot of people back then because I was trying to deal with my own shit, but
yeah.
I can't do anything about it. All I can
Mm,
do now is become a better version of ourselves and move forward, and
yeah.
that's what you have done. You've
No,
looked
thank you,
back.
sir.
No, but you've looked back on it. You've understood the situation of what it is, and it's not
Mm,
as if you're in complete denial, saying, "Well, no, I'm the best tattoo artist on earth." You've gone.
mm,
That got me through that period. Yes, there were people in the process that probably I did hurt. I would love to imagine that a lot of them think, well, it means nothing.
mm,
But that's you processing and going through that journey. But
yeah.
I love my tattoo.
Oh, thank you, Sam.
It's fine.
Thank
It's
you.
it was one of those things, the dream catch, which allowed me to visualize catching the negative thoughts. So yeah, it's, yeah. No, it's fab.
Yeah.
With your so I'm assuming that's when your love for art and tattooing became more of a pressure situation then.
Yeah. It was like tattooing became a chore now because I couldn't go into the shop without working through a panic attack every morning. Every morning this was. To the point I documented it a few times on my Facebook because I thought someone's got to know. But I wanted to normalize it. And there was a lot of people that came through on that and was like, oh, Chloe, you need a break. And we didn't know you was feeling like this. But there was also a lot of people like, oh, come on, Chloe, I need this tattoo finished before the holidays. And I'm thinking, oh, okay. So I wouldn't, I was preaching mental health, but wasn't sort of taking it on board myself. But yeah, that was where it became a chore. I wasn't enjoying it anymore. It was really painful. And the pressure was just, yeah, it was just too much. It was
What wa-
getting a lot.
what was you trying? I think the good way to try and summarize that then is that looking back, what was you trying to prove? And if you were trying to prove, was you trying to prove it to yourself or trying to prove it to someone else?
I think any person that had said I couldn't tattoo or I was never going to tattoo, I was trying to prove it to them. Or like any local tattoo artists, I didn't want to be in the category of failing. There's no way I'm failing. I'm just like you. I can be normal like you. But the reality was they were tattooing and they were fully healthy. I was tattooing and I wasn't. So I was already setting myself up for failure by comparing myself to a complete healthy person. I wasn't comparing to myself in the same health situation as me. So it was sort of having to prove myself to make myself feel like I'd achieved something then. And I still struggle with that now, I really do. Like, I try not to get too emotional about it. But I feel like a lot of my life, unless I was doing something, unless I was, I always measured my worth by productivity. Unless I was up and out of the house, or unless I was a drawing, a design, I was worthless. And that probably stems back to my childhood of feeling worthless because I had this illness. But now, I see myself as, no, I'm worthy even when I'm lying in bed 13 hours a day. I still deserve to breathe. So, yeah, I learned a lot from tattooing that way, and learning that productivity isn't something you should value a human on. It doesn't matter if you're Elon Musk or you're homeless, you still have this exact same, entitlement to life. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter.
That's
So,
the one thing, and I'm trying, listening to that then, it's the one thing I struggle with because now I look at failure. Failure was my biggest fear because I wanted to prove to people that I was no longer the short, fat, ginger, bowl cutted haircut person across the park.
I'm laughing because I don't see you. So,
Well, I was, Chloe. I was short. I was fat. I was bald with a bowl, not bald, a bowl cut haircut.
right.
And
Sorry.
no, it's fine. I find it funny now as well. Trust me. My mother, right? She listens to this now, right? My mother, imagine this, right? Bowl cut haircut, right? With a whistle around my neck, with a flower t-shirt on and like purple spandex shorts, going over the park to play football with the boys. Can you imagine how that started, right? If I had seen that, I probably would have gone over and said, buddy, come and be here. I'll give you some of your one's clothes. Do you know what I mean? But which again is thing. But I think looking back on it, even now, failure is so important to me.
Yeah,
Failure
I
now
agree.
is the recipe for success, and I have failed so many times. But
Mm-hmm.
I've always tried to come out on top. But from a negative perspective, even now,
Mm.
I value myself on productivity
Yeah.
because if I'm not doing anything, even now, and I would like to think I've got a really good check on my mental health, even now, if
Yeah.
I'm not doing anything, I'm worthless. And that's totally not true. And even the stuff I'm doing with the workshops and the book and everything,
Mm.
it's never enough.
Never enough. Yeah. Yeah. I agree
Ever.
with that.
And people go,
Mm-hmm.
why can't you be content? And I find the word content a powerful word in regards of I'm always seeking it. But if I
Mm.
did find contentment, I wouldn't want to be there for too long. I would want to be going, right, even if I create something, I'm always looking for what version 2, version 3, version 4 is looking like. I can't sit still. Now, I don't know whether
Mm.
I've got PTSD and I've got a general anxiety disorder. I'd like to believe, which I'm near enough certain, that I've got undiagnosed ADHD because I
Right.
cannot sit still. I have got to be
Mm.
productive all the time without fail. So
Yeah.
when you spoke about that, then it really did hit me hard because that's
Mm.
exactly how I feel. If I don't have a day where I've been productive or if I've done something,
Yeah.
I criticize myself
Exactly that.
massively. I'll sit here and I'll come after the call now today and I'll start doing the podcast and editing the podcast and stuff. And I won't be able to settle till blah past 11 tonight.
Yeah.
I won't be able to do it because I'm thinking I should be doing that. So I don't
Because I
deserve to
seen
be.
you dot online at like all hours at the morning because I'm awake with my daughter. But I think, oh, when does he sleep?
Not a lot, 5 hours a day. It's quite mad with the tablets I take. I'm on metazapine, so I take my tablet at 12 o'clock, and then I'm normally functionally awake. Then even if I do lie on bed, I'm functionally awake at 5:30 a day, and I do that Monday to Sunday. That's just the way it
Wow.
is. But that's the only way. That's the way that I've kind of condition myself mentally. Like that's it. That's me in a nutshell. But going back
Yeah.
to when I said about the worthlessness and that overachiever of wanting to prove myself through productivity, yeah,
Mm.
I 100% gay on that.
Yeah, because I was always called an overachiever. And I think most people with ME actually are like overachievers, that they've got this personality trait. But it's sort of that thing of having to earn rest as well. And I think that was an important one for me to learn, that we don't have to earn rest. I was always thinking, oh, I can't sit down until I've done A, B, C, D, and E. And I was already ill and really tired, but unless I'd done that, oh no, I wasn't entitled to a sit down. And that's probably similar to yours, and you now. And it's figuring out why, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things I'll always have, and people always look at me and go, "Well, why can't you sit still? Why are you
Yeah,
constantly thinking?" But I think that comes with in again the Forge method that I've created. I think that's learning to hold myself accountable for that, and then accepting it, and then with that, since I've done that, I've been able to become the best version of myself who can
yeah,
monitor it. I do need to learn to put the on and off switch on the ADHD mind, but I haven't got that far yet. We're
yeah.
still
But at
working on it.
least it's not negatively impacting you to the point of, getting nothing good done. So I suppose that is like having a bonus in a way where you want to sit still for now. But I suppose it's just being cautious that there's no burnout at the end of that.
No, yeah, well, I think that's just checking in with yourself. If you are someone
Yeah,
who's going through those periods, constantly checking in with yourself, having people around you. Like I got Carrie, the wife. I've got
yeah.
my mother and everything. They're constantly checking in. Are you okay? And if I do need,
Mm.
and again, I've got people now who are coming into the Forge through the Activate program, people like Emma Mosley and everything who are coming in, and they're helping me try to navigate them waters. I think it's very important to check in with yourself every single day. How are you feeling?
Yeah,
Do you need that break and stuff? But I think this goes really important then into the next bit, which is something which to a lot of people, when I say this, they're going to think, what? And I think that's the fact of COVID and mask slipping. Now,
mhm,
I find this psychologically totally fascinating, right? Because you absolutely loved lockdown.
that mhm,
Why?
that
Why?
I was already at sort of breaking point with pushing my body, and when they said shut it all down, there was no guilt at all from my brain, because when my brain said, "Oh, you're worthless, you're not working," I was like, "It's not my fault. Brain is COVID's." So I was so guilt free, and it felt honestly amazing. And I had the chance to sit down and sort of not have to design what people wanted to design, I could design what I want to design. So I would wake up and just go about my day, and there was no pressure at all to be answering mails, being the yes girl all the time. It just took such a weight off. And I honestly, if they said, "Do you want to go back in tomorrow?" I'd be like, "Yeah, let's go." But yeah, I loved it. I really did love it. And not many people, yeah, like you said, Sam, are like, "What the hell?" But
Well, I think it's, again, I think I know where you're coming from, because it's not about the impact it had on a lot of people. It had an emotional impact, negative impact on a lot of people,
Mhm.
like from how they perceived COVID and then if they lost loved ones. But for you
Yeah.
personally, it was the
Mhm.
first time that you were given permission to rest.
Oh, million. Yeah, you've summed that up there perfectly. Yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. So I think that's how I would look at that, is that it was taken out of your hands. You were in this moment of fuck the world, fuck everyone, I don't care, I'm going to prove everyone
Mhm.
wrong. But then you couldn't compare yourself to anyone because no one was working. So you could, for the first time, be you. But the
Yeah, it
danger,
was lovely.
but the danger behind that then is what happened to you once life resumed.
Yeah. So I was living in this bubble, and obviously, the break got longer and longer, and I got used to it. And then we were open again. The tattoo shops got given the green light to open. And I was expecting people to be more patient, and like where we were clapping for everybody on the doors one in the end. And I thought, oh, this world's going to be a much gentler place, and it wasn't. Um, the abuse I was getting through mails for simply like not being able to fit everyone in a space of a month. It was going to take time. Um, and it was hell on earth for me. Now I couldn't even drink. I was working Sundays. So I was, yeah, to say I was fully, it was all my work. That was all I did was tattooing from Monday through to Sunday and then back again. And my body at this point, there was no amount of medication I was taking. I was going to my GP. She was putting me on like or gabapentin to stop like block all my nerves. Naproxen, I was on the highest I could go. And there was just nothing more I could do. My body just was done in. I could barely sit on the seat. I had an abscess on my coccyx from where I'd worked so much. And even then, the hospital was like, "You need to not sit on this chair." And I was like, "Well, I have to. I got bills to pay." So that was the frame of mind I was always in. Oh, I can't let these people down. I can't let these clients down.
That must have been the breaking point for you then, because the mask that we wear, I said this
Mm,
previously when I was in Thailand, that the mask is a fascinating concept because you wear it continuously, but it has no true value. So once it totally decides to run away and never come back, you are left
mm.
totally bare and exposed.
Yeah,
And so the mask works until it doesn't. So
absolutely. Yeah,
was that
there
the
was nowhere to hide now, nowhere. And through all this chaos, Scott, my partner now, well, my fiance now, had come into the shop. And I think why me and Scott are so close now is he was the one person where we was talking about like Dragon Ball Z and stuff. And there was no pressure. He was one of the first people who said, if you can't fit me in on a Saturday, COVID have happened, I understand I have to wait. So we sort of developed this friendship in shop through music and everything. And I never felt pressure or nastiness in a message from him. Yeah, so that's what I mean. In amongst all these horrible things going on in the world, like there's this famous saying that says, always look and you'll find someone doing good. And I do believe that. But yeah, there's always angels around. I believe that working their magic. Um, but with Scott bonding so much, fast forward a bit of time and I caught pregnant. And this was D-Day then. I remember finding out I was pregnant and I was like, right, I'm off to work. And he was like, what the hell? Like, you're still off to work? You've just found out this crazy big news you're suffering. And I think I worked for a week and that was that. My body was, no. I'd lost a bit of blood. So we thought we was told we was losing Daisy, my daughter. And from then on, it was, no, we have to preserve my life now to save Daisy. So the choice was, there was no choice. Like Yoda said, do or don't, there is no try.
I love it. Look at this, we're dropping in Star Wars lines. This is brilliant. I love this episode. It's mega. Not the situation, but yeah, the episode, one lines. Was it then a case of pure fear, or was it clarity once you got that point?
Yeah, it was. I'd say it was clarity in a way because I knew what I had to do now. It was just hold on for dear life and get myself well. So that didn't matter if I was in bed all day. And then obviously if I wasn't well, the fear of being told, look, Daisy's hanging on you. You got to keep yourself well. So it was I didn't have a very good pregnancy at all. Like the 9 months was hell on earth because I hadn't listened to my motherboard and it was telling me stop, and I didn't stop for years. And my physical health still now, like Daisy's 3 now, is not really picked up a baseline of energy. So I'm still bouncing around. Because the plan was to go back into work after she was born. And I think my family and myself were like, no, this is not a good idea. Do you want to go back to that place? And I was like, mentally, no, not at all. I couldn't do it again. And it wouldn't be fair on my clients again to put out work that I knew I could do better at. And I didn't want to put this onto Daisy now. Daisy didn't ask to be here. And there was no way when Daisy was older, I'm allowing her to mask in any way. That's not allowed. You're not allowed to mask. Break down if you got, or I'd rather that than try be someone you're not. So
when you give up that tattoo machine and you decided, right, that's done, did that feel like failure, surrender, or was it more of a relief that I could put that chapter behind me?
I'd say relief, Sam, to be honest. Like the type of personality I am, I think it would be pure failure, but at the time it was just pure relief. I was so glad I didn't have to be that person that I'd created anymore. And I just knew it was better for everybody. Like me and my family, we were better off because I wasn't so angry anymore. And I couldn't have done it again. It was pure relief.
Well, a powerful message that you said to me previously when we had a chat before we come on the show is that you had to fight for Daisy the way that your mum had to fight for you.
Yeah. So it's come full circle now to where around, I don't know, about 10, 11 months, I was noticing Daisy had this regression. She was like saying words before like mom and dad, and then she stopped. She stopped eating everything. It was only particular foods. There was lots of stimming, tiptoe walking. The sleep just was non-existent. And I thought, oh, autism's at play here. And now I had to fight because she was so young for people to see the symptoms I was seeing because it wasn't all the time. And there was things I had to put in place, like with schooling now, I got to make sure there's a PCP meeting and a IDP and then an IEP. It's crazy. You think, oh my God. And it should be easy, like kids' needs should be met. And I feel so sorry for Daisy because when I was diagnosed, the services was there a psychologist straight away, hydrotherapy straight away, physiotherapy straight away. I had a doctor that listened to me every time I went there. There was programs like this pain clinic in Bath for 3 weeks. And there's just nothing now. And if there is a service, I feel like you're pitted against other parents. You sort of, it's the first come, what's the word for it?
First come, first serve.
Yeah, that's it. I'm sorry. I could just go back to Hunger Games. Yeah, but it feels like Hunger Games. And it all comes down to funding. It's nothing that's hidden from me. They say, oh, we haven't got money in the pot for this. And I think, but she still needs it. So how do we cope with that? So I've had to become this parent with no hope of a career at the minute, which is not necessarily so bad for me, but I don't think I could, even if my health built up a bit more now, because I've got to fight for days. So the same hospital I was going to as a child, I'm now taking Daisy for speech and language, and the same mural she looks at, I was looking at. It's still there, the same farm mural with the horse, and it's beautiful. It's in Neville. So that's kind of surreal for me when I sit there and I'm like, wow, I'm literally going through what my mum went through now.
It's really powerful hearing your story because, yes, you've come full circle. And a lot of people ask me, if you could go through everything you've been through, the failed suicide attempts, the mental health breakdowns, the class of failure, seeing the things I did in Thailand, the bullying, I would do it all again.
It's bonkers, isn't it?
And I'm listening to your story. I would love to believe, and I do believe, that the reason you went through all of that is you are now the person you are for your little one.
100%. That's the way I get through every day, is I know that in my heart I feel that I would never be able to fight for her the way I did, because I had a mum that fought for me that way. And I know what it's like to be labelled autistic and abnormal, wherever abnormal is. And autism is this special thing where you're neurodivergent and you're put in a world that is designed for only neurotypicals. So these neurodivergent souls feel abnormal constantly. And if I can take the pressure off anybody for that, then I've won at life. Bugger what I've tattooed. If I can help you realise you stimber there and you don't mask at all, and I'll knock that person out to saying you look funny, you do it. And I do it for any child feeling that way, or any adult feeling they need to stim, really.
Well, we do that with Johan in the house, because he's finding it very difficult in regards of how he's stimming and how he's using his with his tics and stuff. And when he's in school, he feels that he needs to hold them in. It doesn't matter how much we say, don't do it. When he's home, we try to make sure that he can do it as much as possible. It is difficult because, again, it's, as parents as well, you're trying to learn, you're trying to understand how that happens. But I think the way that you are now using your experience and not masking it and removing the mask and allowing you to become a better parent, a better individual, to ensure that Daisy can flourish. And yes, there are things there at the moment where she's not having the opportunities, but you are going about everything in the right way in order to give her them opportunities. It's just happening in a different manner to everyone else. But it is sad that you are being pitted against others in regards of what Daisy deserves, what you deserve, and. But no, I think you're a remarkable person in regards of what you've done and come through. And then again, having a child who is neurodivergent is very, very difficult. But there's a reason why you're her mother, 100%.
Oh, 100%. Because she's non-verbal as well. So Daisy doesn't speak at all now. She only makes noises. So Daisy have completely grounded me back to earth where I have to pause and I have to listen. So my head isn't allowed to go a million miles an hour, really. Now I have to slow down and look at her body language and look at what she's looking at and look at what she's tapping. And I look at Daisy and the way she feels like mud and water. That's why I love Forge Within, because there's elements. We are ultimately just we come from earth, right? So there's proof that when you put your feet in soil, it grounds you. And I can literally see that when Daisy does it. She relaxes. She puts her hand in the soil and you can see her whole body calm. It's amazing. You're like watching, I don't know, a cave woman or something.
Will people look at me when I wear Crocs continuously, right? And people turn around and go, "My God, he wears Crocs to gym. He wears Crocs when it's raining, when it's snowing." And the reason behind that is grounding.
Mm-hmm.
I suffer so I suffer every single day. But I know if I'm about to go into an episode where I'm struggling, the Crocs come off and then my feet are on the floor.
Wow.
And I feel instantly as if I'm connected to the ground.
Yes, and I never knew that, look, with you. So what I've watched with Daisy, and that is crazy. And it's something so simple, and I still believe, like, when you feel depressed and you're having these episodes where, like, it's impossible to even put your head out the window sometimes, whatever, like, moment you can muster that courage to just literally hug a tree. I know that sounds crazy, or touch some grass. It helps so much. It really do. And I see that with Daisy. Even if it's bucketing down and she's having this meltdown, I've taken her outside like 4 o'clock in the morning and it is instant calm. And it's lovely to see. It really is.
Well, it brings you a full circle, because what we're doing then is that we're living in this moment.
Yeah.
When we ground ourselves, whether we do an activity where we listen to music, whether we sing, or whether we go and hug a tree, or where we dig our feet in the ground, or anything. And that's why the power of the breath is like very, very important. One of the greatest things that you can do is breathe, because once you breathe and actually say, this is where I am, all those negative words, feelings, aspirations, doubt, it all comes into one concise moment where you can focus where you are now.
Yeah.
So the breath for me and grounding are two pivotal things that, again, someone like your daughter, like Daisy, she's already using, and it's allowing her to calm down. So that's incredible, Chloe.
Yeah, I think neurodivergent people can teach neurotypicals a lot about mental health because they listen to their motherboard. And Daisy don't necessarily want to impress anyone. You've got something to give Daisy. She'll give you a chance. But other than that, she couldn't give two shits. So she's happy on her own. And I think that's where a lot of neurotypicals really struggle with. Daisy doesn't need approval from anyone. She is who she is. If you want to come across and be part of her world, she got to vet you. It's not the other way round. So it's amazing. Once you're in her circle, you're in it. But it takes a lot to get in Daisy's circle. And now I just think, I'm adapting nowadays. Well done. At the ripe old age of 34, that's what I'm doing.
It's amazing. It's amazing, and we learn lessons of our children every single day. I do. I look at the other two boys, and I look at Johan as well, and I look at the strength of what they have been through and what they're going through, and then that gives you that power to go forward then with even more guide. What I want to do is, like, as we come in towards the back end now of the podcast, I want to just get your opinion on a few little things, and then we always look to finish the podcast on what would you say to a 12-year-old you looking back and everything. But before we do that, just want to ask you a few things. So I want to shift now this last part of the podcast into like what I call is like growth. So for you, looking at everything we've spoken about today, what does normal in a false narrative really mean to you?
Bullshit now, Sam. It's utter bullshit. There's no such thing as normal. Everyone's got their own troubles. It's how you work through them, and that's how we grow as humans. And to be honest, if you're trying to be normal and you're thinking to yourself, I need to be normal, I would say that's your red flag to look for help now, because it's abnormal to think you have to be normal. It doesn't exist. We're all full of personalities, all grown up with different ways of dealing with things, and it's impossible to fit in, I think, when there's nothing to fit into,
No,
because every day is ever changing, isn't it? And I think that's what I've realised now.
love that. Love that. So, what have you learned in regards about guilt?
To take the pressure off means to take the guilt away sometimes. And that's my biggest bugbear, is the guilt. But like talking to you even today, of saying that was the only way I really knew how to deal with it at the time. It wasn't intentional to hurt anybody, but it happened, and I can't change that. But if I could, I would. So I think guilt is a bit pointless without accountability. So I can feel guilty and not change, and I'm still an arsehole. But if I feel guilty and I take accountability, then I'm learning. So the guilt sort of don't matter as much then, because I'm learning and I'm changing. So yeah, guilt is important, but I suppose not as much as accountability. That's where I've learned now, that as long as you take accountability, yeah.
I love that. I'll be taking that little nugget. I like that one. That was a really good answer. What in regards of accessing to you as a person, how do you decide who deserves that access to you now?
Basically, anyone who shit on me when I was in the tattoo industry, I don't let in now. I'd go as far to say I've unfriended quite a few, because they sort of showed their true colours way back then. It was just me not putting a boundary up and saying, this is allowed. Now I'm like, no, this is not allowed. And I'd say, like, family is my friends now. I think because I've realised they've been there from day dot and they've meant well from day dot. So it'd be stupid for me to not sort of fully immerse myself into my family again. And I'm so happy that like my family are my best friends. So anyone else, like speaking to you, who I've know got like good intentions, and I'd happily go out like for a drink or a meal with, I happily have like quite a few of those people in my life, but I don't feel the need to look for any more friends. I'm happy with a little group. I don't need anyone. I got a best friend in my partner and in Daisy, and I'm quite happy with this little life. So
Love
yeah,
that, Chloe. I do. I love that realization. What if someone is listening to this now and they're destroying themselves to look strong or look normal? What would you say?
It's gonna bite you. It's really gonna come back to bite you. You feel invincible and you feel like it's the answer, but it's completely gonna come round to bite your ass, and it's not worth it. You're better off being honest now and saving yourself a lot of aggro for years along the way, and then having to deal with your body breaking, or your mind, more importantly, breaking, and having to press the restart button is really hard. So if you can nip it in the bud now, and just realise that coming full circle for me, I don't feel like I've lost anything by losing those people I was proving so much to be normal to. I don't miss their relationship. So I think that speaks volumes. You might think you're going to miss this, but you're not. You're really not. So that's all I could say.
And then finally, the question that allows people to really reflect back on themselves is, if you could go back and you could sit opposite your 12-year-old self and you could give some advice and some guidance, what would you say to them to comfort them?
It wasn't my fault that I got dealt those cards in life, and that it's okay to be ill and to be unwell, and to take the guilt off, that it wasn't nothing I was doing wrong. It was just, in my genetics, in my DNA, and that to look for avenues I could have gone down that road sort of without being normal. Maybe I could have done something positive with a forum now because of all this internet that's out there now. I sound so old. The internet that's out there. But if you're going through this now, I'd say share your story, because odds are there's a lot of ill people and a lot of young ill people that are looking for a sense of purpose. And as long as you've got that nice little community, I think you'll do all right. And stop blaming yourself. It's fine. It's not your fault. That's the main thing I'd say to myself.
You know, Chloe, this episode has been an incredible listener, because from going from someone who has that kind of, you have that good family network around you, but then having them internal demons inside you through the pain and identity. Yeah, I really am proud of the person I really am proud of the person that you have become, because it's very, very easy to fall back into a state where the world's against me. I'm just going to sit on my arse. I'm going to become that bad person. You basically become the person who life is trying to portray for you. But time and time again, through failure, you have come out on top. And I know for a matter of fact that Daisy's got the most incredible mother, which is going to help her, and father and network. And again, I'm just incredibly grateful for you to come on and talk about your story. And I know it will, Chloe. I know that the episodes like this will help people, because it's an all too common experience that people have. And by sharing your story, you were then allowing others to feel less alone in the world and more understood. So on behalf of myself and the other people listening, I just want to say thank you so much.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity, because it's nice to get out there. And I feel sort of, even if my clients listen to this now, they'll probably have a better understanding of where I was at the time. So thank you for that validation for me. I really appreciate that.
Not a problem at all. And we're here every week. We've got people booked in now every single week. Next week we've got Dan Newman coming on talking about his life with alopecia, which is going to be another incredible episode. But for now, this moment, I think that's the key thing to take from today, is this moment. It's been an incredible experience. And this has been the Forge Within podcast, where we have real people telling real stories about how mental health has changed their lives. And as you can tell from today, which we are changing the narrative around mental health. So until then, until next time, see you soon. Bye now. Bye.